coming to you on a special Saturday edition of RWD. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, as always, Big John Caldwell. Big John, another tough defeat for the ASU Sun Devils as they fall to the Utah Utes this past Saturday night in Tempe. We'll certainly recap that game. We'll also take a look at the Devils matchup later tonight with the USC Trojans at the Mausoleum in Southern California. And Big John, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But Big John, we got to start with the Devils' tough defeat to their Pac-12 South rivals, the Utah Utes, in Tempe over the weekend. What are your takeaways from this game?
Well, I'm sure there was lots of emotions were high after the firing of or the departure of Herm Edwards. Yeah. The hard practices, the up tempo, the energy, the effort towards reducing penalties, the fouls, I think all probably helped a little bit. I saw hard play. I saw reduction in dumb penalties, although they still are occurring, not nearly at the clip they were. This is a very good Utah team. First of all, very balanced team. Who we've had this date circled, and we've known about this game for a long time. In fact, we've known about this gauntlet of 3 games we have playing ranked teams. We're still thin because of our lack of depth. It's showing in the fourth quarter. Our defense is getting beaten in the fourth quarter. Just not enough bodies to throw at them. So that's my takeaway. I did like. I still see some flashes of people I like. Nesta Silva and Soley, Kyle Soley, and I thought Merlin played a really good game.
The Devils were even more shorthanded because the Markham brothers sat out this game for personal reasons, and the freshman Isaiah Johnson got a chance to play a lot of snaps, and I thought he played very well.
Yeah, I thought.
So there are some positives to take away from this game. The fact that I think not just that they played hard, but they played hard for 60 minutes. They didn't quit. They got that late touchdown. They didn't just pack it in. When they got down big.
You lost to DJ Taylor, and you saw, 2 other guys did good jobs replacing him in on kickoff and punt. So I mean, there is some positives to take away from this. I don't think that it's a body of work we're going to have to look at the end of this year. But it's becoming obvious to me that the thinness on both the O-line and the D-line are really our biggest detriments at this point, our biggest shortcomings. And we have to find ways to we'll get into probably this a little bit later, but our O-line's just not holding blocks long enough, so we have to sort of adjust what Emery is doing out there. The way he's been going down on the ground is just unacceptable.
Utah, we look at some of the stats from this game, and just continue to look at the takeaways. If you can, John, can you go to the next slide?
You bet. Hold on.
And you look at Devils were only and we talked about it in our keys to the game last week. They had to get the running game going. Ex Valade only 8 carries for I think 30 yards.
Yeah, he was
right. Yeah, and then you have Daniel Aguano only 1 carry, and they with the sacks on Emory Jones, they only managed 6 net rushing yards. Utah defense, they come into the game. This is one of their hallmarks. Their defense got after it. They forced 3 turnovers. Emory Jones' first interceptions of the season. A recipe like that's not going to equal success.
No, you're not going to win games with 3 turnovers against a team like that.
And just a couple other things too. ASU was only 3 of 11 on 3rd down. It's tough when you're giving the ball right back to that offense. And
Utah wasn't particularly efficient at 3rd down. It was just that they kept drives moving. They were getting their first downs on 2nd down, and first down. But they didn't really. Wow. They did run for over 200 yards, Yes.
which was a big key to their success. But I mean, they also ran it 45 times.
And
So
look where they went. Their number one target was to go right over Omar Norman Lott's hole that he was still out,
yeah,
still missing.
ASU definitely missed him. There were, again, some players out that they probably could have used, certainly. So that was certainly tough to take. But and then the Utah offense, we mentioned 465 yards, 205 on the ground, 26 first downs, 35 minutes of possession time. That's tough to stop, especially when they're converting. I mean, they didn't convert a lot of a lot of third downs.
Right.
They were 5 of 15 on third down, but they did convert 3 of 4 on fourth down. So they were, like you said, they were able to keep a lot of drives going, which is tough to do. It's tough to stop, especially when your offense is not really clicking at the moment. And ASU was a little overmatched, I feel like, in this game with some of the players that they had down or down and out, and just really weren't able to ever get into any kind of rhythm or really hang with Utah for any extended period of time.
Yeah, like I say, Emory is he's still hanging tough in the pocket, and he still really never had an opportunity to go run.
Yeah. And another thing that you pointed out that was kind of stuck in your craw a little bit was the fact that Kyle Whittingham kept his first team players in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, fans, I made that comment on social media, and a lot of people took me to task for it. And there's a couple of reasons why I said
imagine what that means to you.
No, hey, bring it on. I got big shoulders. The way I look at it, look, I know it's about style points. I know it's all about rankings and how badly you put away an opponent. But I know this. One, that loss to at the beginning of the season to Florida. No, I'm sorry. Who
Florida, yes.
Florida. Is a big stain on their record. Two, I don't think that loss. I think that loss is going to really hurt them at the end. Two, you got to get to 40 in order to get style points, and they weren't going to get to 40. It was evident to me that they were done, and to keep their now. To be fair, they did put a couple of 2s and 3s in there. The quarterbacks all got a series, but I didn't see a need. I mean, imagine, and now they lost Queefy, one of their best tight ends. Imagine if Queefy had gone down in the fourth quarter, how badly they'd all feel. That's the rescue run of keeping your ones in there so late. I don't know. It's to me, it was like, do you want to develop anybody, or you want to just go out and pound? And I know Frank Kush probably would want to, win 70-7, but even in that game, when we won 70-7, we played 2s and 3s a lot in the fourth quarter. In fact, that's all we played. So I don't know.
And then I mean, you think about like Miami's blowout of Jerry Faust and Notre Dame in Jerry Faust's last game.
Yeah.
And they were the Notre Dame people got into a tiff because they ran up the score. They were doing it with 2s and 3s. They blocked a punt for a touchdown.
That's right.
With only 10 players on the field. So sometimes it's not just about what your own team is doing. It's about what the opposition's doing, and that's something that that really shouldn't be done when you're clearly superior to your opposition. Just kind of take it down, coast a little bit, and I understand that they're trying for style points. They still have a hope to try and get to the college football playoff, but
yeah,
they got
a long way.
There's something to be said for maybe taking your foot off the gas, and and to ASU's credit, they didn't let it become a blowout. They didn't let
exactly.
I thought that I talked about fighting hard for 60 minutes. That fourth down goal line stand where Merlin Robertson should have had an interception was really nice to see late in the game. And then the offense comes back, scores touchdown late. The fact that they didn't just give up, they actually went out and fought. They didn't just let Utah roll over them for 60 minutes.
By the way,
was encouraging. I think that hopefully that's a sign that they're buying in to what Shaun Aguano was preaching.
Yeah. I saw some good stuff on the two. I mean, I saw Will Shaper go in there and just stone some people at the end of the game.
Nice.
He just ran up and filled holes, man, and laid really nice tackles on people. But yeah, I don't know. I was probably a little bit of a get off my lawn moment for me, but but I just kind of lost some respect for Whittingham at that point.
Yeah.
But
But as we always do here after a tough defeat on Running with the Devils, what we learned, presented by Flagstar Bank. For all your mortgage needs, check out xllendingteam.com. And for me, the ASU line still needs work. And you talked about maybe changing up what Emory Jones does. A few too many long developing pass plays.
that's it.
I felt like Utah was really pinning their ears back and coming after Emory a few too many times. You got to run some screens and draws to kind of slow down that pass rush and get them out of a rhythm. And the play calling to me hasn't really been where it needs to be to protect the quarterback. And they're not even really using him as a runner that much. So
That's right.
You gotta change up you can't win. I think we've all figured out at this point, you can't rely on Emory Jones's arm to win games for you. You can, use it to, keep defenses honest. He's a decent passer, certainly, but not an elite one.
Well,
and,
I think
they're going to need him, but he likes to stay in the pocket when he throws. So it's going to be tough. You got to, take some pressure off of him and that O-line with your play calling. But that O-line still needs to, stop being a turnstile when they face some tough pass rushes.
I agree.
So there's a lot of work on both the coaches and the players on that. And then
but you don't like the play calling. Yeah, you don't like the play calling right now. It sounds.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a big fan. I just feel like against a team like that, that's you saw it on the first on the ASU's first drive when Emory got sacked twice. He got sacked on second and third down.
Right.
You can see they're coming after him hard.
Off the edges.
Mix it up a little bit. Work some screens and draws in. I feel like they're getting a little bit too predictable with some of the stuff they want to do. They're so I don't know if this is the case, but they seem so intent on sticking with a schedule, staying on schedule, that they're not changing things up. You got to change things up a little bit if something's not
You're
working.
Right.
And
Aguano says
I felt like they abandoned the run a little bit too soon. They tried to rely on Emory Jones's arm to try to get back in the game when you're a running team. That's I think we talked about identity a lot on the show. Your identity is a running team, and I think you've got to mix.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get Valade and Daniel Nagata some more touches than 9 total between them.
Right.
As far as running the ball. And I like to see Emory Jones use his legs a little more in design runs.
RPOs.
RPO, yeah. Read options. I just feel like there's more out there that they could be doing to kind of mix it up and not be so predictable offensively.
Did you watch UCLA Washington last night?
Parts of it, yes.
Yeah, I mean DTR's running ability, I felt really was the and the ability to find Bobo, the tight end, was really the difference in that game.
Totally.
But you still think you make the point about defensive struggles and the tight ends just eating us alive.
Yeah, and this is kind of one that sticks with me a little bit, because we talked about how prevalent that the tight ends Kincaid and Queefy were for that offense. They were their two leading receivers.
We knew it. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And if we know it, so does the team. They should have game planned for it, but it just seemed like Kincaid and Queefy were open way too much. Even on just simple underneath stuff, they were wide open. There was nobody within 10 yards of them.
We're in zone. We're in a soft zone.
I understand, but you still got to know where the tight ends are at all times and kind of shade coverage to where they are. I don't know. I just feel like they let the tight ends beat them a little bit too much.
Yeah.
For me, especially when we didn't know this going in, but Tavion Thomas, their all everything back, didn't play the first half. He sat out the first half.
It looked like it was a discipline thing. I saw his coach talking. I saw the coach talking to him.
Yeah, so he was out the first half, so they're going to rely even more on the tight ends to move the ball down the field, and it just seemed like ASU didn't adjust enough. They didn't, they weren't trying hard enough to stop the tight ends. But I mean, it wasn't just them. I mean, Devon Vele, their leading receiver, had a nice game. He was another guy that I think they struggled with. I mean, it just seemed like whoever Tamarcus Davis was covering, they were picking on him.
They were picking on him. Yeah. What you think about the gadget play, the flea flicker?
We keep getting burned by them. We keep getting. This is the third week in a row that a team has scored on a gadget play against us, and it seems like we got dirty eye. We talked about having clear eyes on and just staying home when it comes to some of those plays, because teams are going to break them out at some point, and that's something that can't happen. The fact that the tight end was wide open down the sideline like that.
Yeah,
somebody's got to be there over the top to take that away.
Yeah. This is the power of studying film. Oklahoma State showed everybody that we were vulnerable there. So I think I can't say enough about studying tendencies, studying what's going on in film is huge. I think they probably knew that at some point they had that play in,
and we were gonna over pursue or over commit, and I know then teams are taking advantage of it right now. Don't be surprised to see USC run one or two trick plays against us
tonight. Yeah. So
those are my points. But still think this, it was kind of obvious that this team, this defense, just they're going through some struggles right now for sure.
I just felt like our defense was on the field. It seemed like most of the night, and I guess 35 minutes of possession kind of proves proves that out. And then because I don't know that you're going to fix the O line. I think you have to fix Emory and how fast he releases the ball.
The play calling. Yeah, I think that'll help the O line.
Right. And so, this is us in general going forward. Not necessarily against Utah only, but we learned that because we don't have the depth on D line like we thought we did going into the season, that we can't stay on the field for sustained periods of time. And two, we're gonna have to, the play calling is gonna have to adjust to a much quicker release, a much quicker bang bang. As you said, a jailbreak, what is it?
Well, yeah, when they blitz, yeah.
Yeah. When they're blitzing, especially when that you can see them coming and they're bringing up the safety, you've got to you've got to be a fire, some kind of call to everybody to audible real quickly and get rid of that ball.
And I think that kind of taking some pressure off the defense, helping them get out the field, I think is just being, we've talked about it on the show a couple of times, being better on first and second down.
Yes. Yes.
Making them get into that third down, because last time, because on Saturday, third down, ASU was pretty good. They got off the field 10 times on third down. I mean, they stopped them 10 times on third down. They forced 5 of 15 against Utah, which is, I think, if you're just talking from a defensive standpoint, good enough to win.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were. I mentioned this before. They were 3 of 4 on fourth down. So Utah just they found ways to exploit ASU's defense, and but at the same time, you gotta make plays. You gotta be able to get off the field, and that fourth down in the first half, that fourth and goal pass for a touchdown, Tamarcus Davis has got to break that up.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. There was a reason they were attacking him. He had an interception on the night, but it was something that I felt like he got picked on quite a bit, and they were just basically going after whoever he was covering way too often. And that's if you want the defense to get off the field, you got to make as the defense, you got to make plays. You got to go out there.
Right.
When you get your opportunities, got to take advantage. And right now, it just doesn't feel like ASU's defense is doing that.
Going back to offense for a second and play calling, which I agree with your point. While it was good to see Badger make some nice catches, I'm disappointed in the fact that we really didn't target Swinson until that last touchdown.
Yeah,
And
that last
I don't know
touchdown.
I don't know I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I know he's dropped a couple of balls and maybe, but you still think that's the biggest mismatch, just like Utah had the mismatches on our DBs.
He's your guy. But I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, he is a big mismatch up the seam.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them. I think, especially on like third down, because that's a guy that you can move the chains for you.
That's right. Yeah.
But I don't know why enough teams don't look for the tight end more on third down passing downs. And
well, it's because if you put yourself if you're third and long, it's a lot hard. Your toolbox, your playbook is much smaller than it is if you're third and 3, right?
Right.
And so, designing a play to get you 9 yards to the tight end is he might only have 4 good plays to do that.
Well, it's not terribly hard to do though, because he is such a mismatch. Because I feel like you can kind of throw up a 50-50 ball for him, and it's more like 70-30
right.
with him. I think you definitely need to give him some more opportunities to catch the ball. And I think that kind of goes. It all kind of circles back to the running game. I think if you can establish the run, it opens up the play action. Hopefully they'll be able to do that tonight. But that's something that I think if you can establish the run game, that'll take a lot of pressure off of Emory Jones and
right.
They'll kind of slow down the pass rush. Hopefully, ASU will be able to do that tonight.
Got to keep them honest.
Yeah. So Devils match up with the Trojans here tonight in Southern California. Last time they were in Southern California against the Trojans was that 2020 game where USC had that late fourth quarter comeback.
It was 2 1% play. No, 3 1% plays that won that game for them. Absolute luck. But they paid for it coming here last year. So
yep. But Southern Cal is a much different team than they were last year when they came in. They haven't really played anybody. I mean, their schedule's been a little bit light, especially on the non-conference side.
Yeah.
They've put up a lot of points against some people.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
they've looked as good as advertised.
They did, but let's go to Oregon State. I mean, I have to be very honest with you, Ryan, and you know me at these games. I had the USC game on at the same time our game was on the phone. I had everybody looking over my shoulder because the Beavs were about ready to pull this thing off, and some late interceptions and some late mistakes gave the Trojans a victory.
And the Trojans were able to get a touchdown late to ultimately pull it out.
Yeah, right. So, but 17-14, they and it's credit.
That really is a game they should have lost.
Right, but I'll give the Beavs and their coach huge credit. He's really brought that program along so nicely. Yeah, he's done a great job with it. But I think they just showed us, if we really study that game closely, they've showed us the way to win this thing. Right?
Yeah, and Stanford was a lot closer than the score, I think.
It was.
Stanford was, they were dead even in the first half.
That's right.
And USC just kind of wore them down in the second half. But that was another game that USC, a couple plays here and there could have been a much different game, to be honest. So USC, while they've looked good on offense at times, and the defense has been pretty solid as well with a lot of those transfers that they've had. They're not infallible. They're not completely unbeatable. Despite having all this talent on paper that they have.
You mean the best team that money can buy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Mercs that they've established. I mean, that they've given a bunch of kids NIL deals And I mean, they spent a mint. They backed up the Brinks truck to bring Lincoln Riley over from Oklahoma. He brought a couple. John, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, just just kind of an overview of the Trojans. I mentioned Lincoln Riley brought his quarterback Caleb Williams and wide receiver Mario Williams from Norman, and they've been considering the fact they played who they played. I mean, they've been very good with the points per game and points allowed. They've blown out a couple teams, but who have they really played? To be honest, let's see what happens when they face Utah and some of these other teams that are a little more competitive. But the strength of this team is certainly their offense, and that centers around quarterback Caleb Williams.
Sophomore. Yep.
Yep. And he has had a lot of success at Oklahoma. Followed his head coach from Norman, and has come in and really gotten on the same page with some of these wide receivers. And John, next slide. And they've been able to do a lot of good things both through the air and on the ground. And Caleb Williams over 1,000 yards already on the season, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he's also got 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then another familiar name to ASU fans, Travis Dye from Oregon, has come over and kind of become that featured back in the back, for the Trojans as well. 49 carries, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's been very, did a good job for them, and he had a nice game against Oregon State. He ran for 133 yards in that game. And then they'll also work Austin Jones, another running back, into the mix. 29 carries, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns on the season. He's kind of a change of pace back. Certainly somebody that you definitely need to know what's going on with him, because they'll work him in quite a bit as well. He's a good sized kid. He's actually from a Stanford transfer at 5'10" and a little over 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. He's kind of a bigger back than Travis Dye, and definitely one that I think they'll use a little more in short yardage. And then one of the studs on the outside, Jordan Addison, the Bolitnikoff winner from last year at Pitt, and he's been he's been excellent so far.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I think he's the best receiver in college football.
I think that's fair. That's more than fair. I mean, this kid, just the numbers he's put up: 21 receptions, 337 yards, 6 touchdowns on the season. You watch him, and you can see why. I mean, he's a great route runner, great speed.
It's the Ayuk breakaway kind of speed at the end. That's really attractive to the pros.
He looks like a first round pick already.
Yeah,
and he's definitely
he's slippery too.
Yeah, you got to know where he is. You got to know where he is on the field, because he's got home run speed. Yeah, he can do a lot of things to beat you.
I think it was the game against Fresno State where he cut that long ball. He was tackled and he spun out. He spun out of it and kept running.
That sounds right. Yeah.
My God, it was just so athletic. It was just really. I mean, that's because he's got great balance about him. But yeah, he's the kid really has caught my eye this year amongst all the receivers in the country. He's a handful.
Another guy, we mentioned Mario Williams was another transfer. A lot of transfers on this team. You think ASU has a lot of transfers? Look at SC. They brought a ton in, and these are some high quality kids. They just basically took kind of cherry picked the best of the bunch in the transfer portal, and they offered him NIL deals, and they were able to get him to come in. And Mario Williams has been another very nice compliment to Jordan Addison. He's a smaller guy, but also a lot of speed. 13 catches, 216 yards, and a touchdown on the year. They find different ways to get him the ball.
Well, he's more of a freestyle kind of guy. He can improvise out there, and he's very slippery too.
Yeah, he's a little on the smaller side. I think he's only like 5'10" or so.
Right.
But he's very tough. And if you get the ball out in open space and don't get over there and make a play on him, he can beat you for a long gain.
That's true.
So, and then just some other receivers to keep an eye on. Taj Washington is another guy they utilize quite a bit. 11 catches, 153 yards.
Right.
And then another familiar name, the Colorado transfer and Chandler High School alum, Brennan Rice. He's
Barry Rice's son.
Yeah, he's having a decent season as basically the fourth receiver, 9 catches, 71 yards on the year. He's another guy that
Well, he was
the son of Jerry Rice.
frustrated at Colorado. Wasn't getting enough targets. And,
yeah, that was but I mean, look at Colorado now. I mean, and
yeah,
what they're doing, and then what USC is doing. I mean, that was an easy decision to transfer there.
Yeah.
Then the offensive line has some redshirt seniors that are experienced and very, very good players, and Andrew Voorhees, Justin Dedich, and center Brett Nealon.
Right.
A lot of those guys, and some of those guys are actually holdovers from last year, which is a little unusual on this team. So many guys transferred out, with all the new players that they brought in, and they've actually had some continuity on the offensive line, which is another reason for their success. And then for the defense, you see they're having some good, having some good performances. They've been holding a lot of teams under 20 points. But again, not really facing some tough competition. They did give up 28 to Stanford. So
but 171 rush, that's not stellar. That's somewhere in the middle.
And Oregon State gouged them for some big runs last week. I mean, they didn't really fill up the stat sheet. Oregon State only finished with 153 yards on the ground, but they averaged almost 5 yards a carry.
That's right.
So they were able to establish the ground game and were able to get after it. And that's something that we mentioned. ASU's got to kind of follow that blueprint, and I think that on both sides of the ball they need to certainly do that and make sure that they kind of look at what Oregon State did and try and duplicate some of that. But another familiar name in the ASU transfer, Eric Gentry, who was a freshman All-American last year. He's the leading tackler on his team, 32 tackles. He's also tackled for loss, a half sack, and interception on the year.
He's still skinny.
Yeah, and you'll recognize him pretty easily. He's the tall guy. He's like six. What is he? 6'2", 6'3"?
No, he's 6'7", dude. Eric Gentry is 6'7" with a 7'1.5" wingspan.
He looks like a receiver. He looks like a receiver out there, and
he's cat-like. He's absolutely cat-like. And if ASU fans, if I understand you're frustrated about NIL and ASU being late to the party and all that, but if anything should really piss you off is the fact that he was stolen from us by a team in our conference, and we got to step it up. I'm sorry. This is a real wake up call to lose a kid of this quality, a freshman All-American, to our closest rival, real rival, I'd say, who can really play football in SC. I can't say it enough. This is a wake up call. We have to circle this kind of kid and say it never again. We can't let this happen. He's the leading tackler on that team.
Right? Definitely contributing quite a bit. And another the linebacker on the weak side, Shane Lee, the Alabama transfer, is having a nice year. 31 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, and an interception. These guys complement each other very well.
Right.
Definitely been playmakers for the team. And then in the secondary, safety Max Williams, the brother of ASU's Mason Williams. He's got
coming off an ACL.
Two interceptions. Coming off that ACL, he's been playing very well with 2 interceptions, 23 tackles on the year, third most on the team, and also a forced fumble. So another guy that you definitely got to know where he is. He's a free safety. He's a bit of a ball hawk. He plays that center field position very well for them. So you got to know where he is. And then their quarterback, Mekhi Blackman, the Colorado transfer, has been playing very well as well. 15 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. He's another guy. Looks like he's going to be, a fairly high draft pick when he comes out. 6 foot, 170 pounds. He's a fifth-year guy as well, and definitely a lot of experience, and he's playing at a very high level right now. Definitely a lot of talent on both sides of the ball for this team, and they've, they on paper they look like they're just all world, but you still got to go out there and execute on the field. So and then the defensive line, another holdover from last year, Tuli Tuipulotu, is having a nice year, and he's kind of they play kind of a modified nickel but with only three down linemen and then a rush end.
One.
Yeah, but the rush end will play with his hand off the ground. And Tuli Pelotu is the defensive end with his hand on the ground. Solomon Byrd is the rush end on the other side. So they've combined so far for 24 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks, 3 each. So they definitely get after it on that defensive line. Again, they struggle a little bit in run defense, but they've certainly gotten after opposing quarterbacks so far this year.
Yeah,
definitely got to know where those two are. And as we always do here on Running with the Devils, our keys to the game presented by Valley Athletic Booster Club. Check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. Support local athletics. And my keys, I mentioned, establishing the run, the ground garrison. They got to, that is this team's identity. They've got to go out there and just force feed Valade and Daniel Nagata the ball. I know that at some point you got to wear down that USC defensive line and get the tough yards. If you're not running the ball and you just you're not having success as far as this team goes. I think that's their identity. And maybe we've been talking about it all year. We've kind of been waiting for it. Use Emory Jones in the running game. Use some design runs for him because he's a dual threat. He is a dual. He can run the ball. You don't just have to. He doesn't just have to improvise. You can, run some design plays for him. So, and we talked about what UCLA did last night with DTR. Look at when you have a dual threat quarterback, you got to use them.
Oh yeah.
You got to do something to kind of keep the score down and control the clock and give yourself a chance in this game and keep that high-powered USC offense off the field and take pressure off your defense as well. So if you can establish the run, keep moving the chains and working that clock, I think that's gonna be in ASU's benefit. And then minimizing the big plays. Yes, minimizing the big plays for USC. I know that's asking a lot, but just make just tackle. No missed tackles. Just keep everything in front of you. Make the Trojans work for everything that they get on offense. Maybe a couple of these drives. Yeah, they may kick a field goal, but as long as they don't get a touchdown, I think you're giving yourself a chance. And I think that's how you got to look at this game. Kind of a bend but don't break type of mentality on defense.
You think this is finally the week we might blitz?
It'd be a good week for it, to be honest. Those USC's tackles are pretty young. I think they're both sophomores.
Okay.
So this might be an opportunity to put some pressure on them.
Well, if you get Lott back, I think you have a good chance of maybe pulling it off.
Yeah, it would be nice to have some. It would be nice to have some pressure up the middle.
Yeah, he'll give a good push. That's my point. And he's a very, very good gap manager.
Yeah, all that definitely rings true. But I think that the secondary, you got to know what kind of weapons you have that USC has. Don't let them get away from you. Just go out there, try to make the simple plays. Tackle, get guys on the ground. Don't let anybody get away from you. Don't try to do too much. Stay home. Don't over pursue. Just simple, basic football plays.
Yeah,
I think you give yourself a chance. You don't try to do too much and then allow USC to make the big play. And I think they're just making them work for everything they get. That's basically what Oregon State did last weekend, and it worked for them. They only gave up 17 points to this offense that had been averaging over 40 a game. Yeah. So that's those are my keys right there.
Well, in studying, I've said at the beginning of the show, I thought the Oregon State showed us the way. Obviously, running the ball, eating clock, minimizing turnovers. 3 turnovers like you had last week are not going to get it done. But you want to keep SC's potent offense off the field, obviously. So we're in agreement on that. Really, the same point. There's 2 real key plays they love to run. They love to run this flood pattern where they send their speedster deep. and then they run two guys up underneath, and it's confusing, right? And they'll catch you in that.
Usually at least one guy's open.
Correct. And then they also like that jailbreak screen a lot. And if you can stop those two, minimize the damage on those two kind of basic bread and butter plays they like, I think you're gonna have some success and make it a short make it competitive. Again, this is what Oregon State did. I just think you have to study film, and everybody's got to know what their job is out there this week. It's going to be real important. No freelancing. So that's our keys to the game, again by Valley Athletic Booster Club. It's prediction time, right, guy?
Yeah. I don't think this is the week that ASU pulls that big upset, but I think they do keep it closer than the 25.5 line that Vegas has us at right now.
Well, yeah,
I think that this game will be close for about 3/4, and then USC will kind of pull away in the fourth with a couple scores.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Trojans winning 33-17, but again, I think it will be closer than Vegas is predicting.
Yeah, well, remember that line probably started out at 20 or maybe just under 20, and it's moved. The money has moved it, obviously.
Sure.
I'm the same way. I think although I see it as
break
much
some gamblers' hearts, huh?
Yeah, well, I hope Leslie wins this. She's in a pool this year in a pick'em that she got to pick the spread, and she says, "Oh yeah, we can beat these guys on the spread." But no,
I think a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, and the over under is 62. I just don't see. I think there's enough defense, like I say, for at least 3/4 to keep us hanging in there. I do see, just like you do, pulling away sometime in the fourth by SC with some of those spectacular wide receivers they have. But as I said this a while back, the one thing that they cannot control is our intensity and our effort. And as long as we keep showing effort and finishing plays, that attention to detail,
60 minutes of effort,
it's gonna we have a chance. We have a get our running backs off. Let them get to let them have a chance to really shine this week. Hold those blocks a little bit longer. Let Emory release that ball a little quicker. It's football's a game of inches, and when you getting blown out is never fun. I just don't see a blowout happening. I really don't. I think we got too many kids who really who are either recruited or know a lot of those players. They played with a lot of
they don't want to go in there and get embarrassed. And,
no,
this is
no.
And this is the last time ASU is going to face USC in the Coliseum, the Mausoleum. With USC getting ready to leave the Pac-12 here in 22, it looks like they're going to leave along with UCLA for the Big Ten in 2024. So this could be their last trip to SoCal to face the Trojans.
Right.
So definitely want to go out right. I think
it would give me the ultimate pleasure to have to play. Now they're going to Big Ten. If we play them in the Rose Bowl someday, right? That would be the ultimate.
That would be very cool. That would be
the ultimate irony. Yeah, go back and play them at UCLA's home. Yes. Anyway, that ought to do it, huh?
Yeah, that's it for that. That'll do it for this week's show. Sorry about the late arrival. We both had crazy schedules this week. I was on vacation. John had a bunch of meetings and whatnot. So thank you for sticking with us and tuning in for this kind of abbreviated late broadcast. And we definitely thank you guys for tuning in every week. And the game tonight, obviously 7:30 on ESPN. Hopefully we'll be able to break some gamblers' hearts and at least make this a game. So we say good night. Go Devils. Forks up. Trample the Trojans. Let's get after it in SoCal.
See you guys. Forks up.